Even prior to this program, there were some initial initiatives taken for combating the air pollution throughout the country. These initial initiatives were National Air Quality Monitoring Program. These measure these pollutants, that is PM10, 2.5, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, ammonia, carbon monoxide, and ozone and benzene in the air. Then there were national ambient air quality standards already existing. National Air Quality Index has been developed even before the program was launched and was being used. It gives 6 AQI categories. For these 8 pollutants, the amount is calculated into a single index called Air Quality Index. There were 42 action points which were for implementation in the major cities, obviously including Delhi and NCR. These covered the vehicular emission standard, road dust, biomass burning, etc. Then there was Environmental Pollution Authority, EPCA, Prevention and Control Authority, which was constituted in 1998, as early as 1998 by the Supreme Court. There was already existing GRAP, or Graded Response Action Plan, for Delhi and NCR, that is National Capital Region of the country. It's a set of laws meant to control the air pollution in this area, and it has different levels of action based on the level of AQI category. Then the rules for management of solid, hazardous, plastic, biomedical, and e-waste of these 6 wastes were revised. Then there was ban on burning of leaves, biomass in certain cities including Delhi NCR. Then the vehicular emissions, the quality standards were set BS, Bharat Stage 4, and then increased, bettered in 2020 to Bharat Stage 6. There is also a plan to introduce voluntary old vehicle scrapping program. Then an initiative for National Electric Mobility Mission Plan was already there. There was a plan to introduce gas as an automotive fuel in many cities, that is the CNG, instead of gasoline. There have been efforts for enhancement of public transport in some selected cities. Then Ujjwala scheme is meant to increase the penetration of LPG use for cooking instead of using the solid fuels. Introducing energy efficiency labeling for home appliances, for example, air conditioners, refrigerators, etc. The standards for diesel generator sets had been made stringent even before the program was envisaged. The non-attainment cities were recognized by the Central Pollution Control Board. There were 102 such non-attainment cities, and despite all these measures that we have listed, the air quality remained unsatisfactory, especially in some cities, some major cities. Hence, a need was felt for a stronger and time-bound action which should be applicable throughout the nation, and this led to launch of National Clean Air Program. The goal, that is a long-term goal, that is what we wish should happen, was to meet the prescribed quality standards in all locations in the country, in all the cities, villages, and within a specified time period. This was the goal that we desire. The target was to achieve at least 20 to 30% reduction in PM to 2.5 and PM10 at the national level by 2024. That is a reduction from 2017 levels. The smaller objectives were to ensure stringent implementation of the measures under the program, to augment the monitoring of ambient air quality, so the data should be reliable of how bad is the air across the country, and to enhance the public awareness that why the air should be clean and what can they do. The tenure of the program initially was a 5-year plan starting in 2019, but it was to be further extended to 20 to 25 years after a mid-year review of the outcome. So how the ministry is to go about implementing this program? The approach, the most important thing is to establish a cross-sectoral coordination between central ministries, state governments, local bodies, because controlling air pollution would require a close coordination because so many things are to be taken care by different sectors of the country. And we already have an existing National Action Plan on Climate Change with 5 national missions directly linked with air pollution. This is the list of those 5 national missions which were to be integrated with NCAP. Then stricter implementation of the previous initiative that we discussed in previous slides, stricter implementation of those steps. Then the smart cities were envisaged to integrate the smart city structure so as to implement all the features, all the strategies to not allow air pollution to cross levels in these 43 smart cities. And also the program is going to be dynamic and will evolve with new scientific information and in response to the international experiences. How will the program be implemented? The Central Pollution Control Board shall be responsible for implementing the program countrywide, and mainly it will be organized through intersectoral groups between the related ministries. In addition, the finance and health ministries, Niti Aayog, the board itself, industry, academia, and the civil society. The nodal agency for implementation would be the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Other ministries, as listed here, will, when they are making policies for their sector, will take into account measures which will also lead to control of air pollution. Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Exchange, as we said, is implementing in APCC discussed before. Will also work towards mitigation of air pollution. And indicators are needed to know if we have actually achieved the reduction in air pollution. So those indicators are required. How will we measure what we are doing is working or not? So indicators will be evolved for measuring the effects of the actions in reducing emissions. What are the air pollution mitigation actions? A 3-tier system will be created in which real-time data collection will be done from all physical sources. This data will be stored and analyzed at a central location, and an action trigger will be formed automatically when the certain level of air pollution is crossed. So none of this would be, no human will be involved in this. The data collection will be independent, data storage and analysis will be done by somebody else, and action will be triggered at some other level. Use of technology is highly recommended under this program, and most importantly, a third-party verification, that is, independent verifiers will manage the system in each state, not from the government, maybe NGOs, maybe international NGOs, and they will work closely with the state pollution control boards. High quality IT companies will cross-check the data for accuracy, so there should be no scope for fake data or faking of data, just showing that we are working when we are not working. So high quality IT companies will ensure that. And the emphasis would be on automation, that is all the 3-tier, and all these actions are based on the data status, ensuring faster and more transport responses without human involvement. And obviously we will require a lot of manpower who would be trained in doing these actions, so adequate manpower training for these actions. What is again important is that air pollution is not limited to one city or one area. So we need not only regional but even trans-boundary plans for reduction in air pollution. So we need to address air pollution across regions, and hence it has to be integrated with United Nations initiatives. We need to have regional air quality strategies for the entire South Asia, not just India or the capital region, because you can see that a large part of air pollution in Delhi and NCR is contributed by transboundary sources from the Indo-Gangetic plain. Dust, cooking emissions, waste burning, industrial emissions from the entire region comes into the city. So There is a need for regional plan, of course, but also a transboundary plan for the entire Indo-Gangetic plain is needed. The program says what can be done at the regional level. Transport, stringent norms for the fuel that is used, stringent norm for the emissions of the vehicle, electric vehicle policies, encouragement of electric vehicles, taxation policies, or giving tax rebates for those who voluntarily scrap old polluting vehicles, like that. Then in the industrial sector, the region, the city or NCR can give stringent industrial standards that the industry should follow, should encourage the use of clean fuels in this industry, should encourage the use of cleaner technology and strict enforcement of the standards and this technology. Then enhancing LPG penetration for cooking in the households. Management of agriculture or prairie burning. Then what is most important now is identifying the sources of air pollution in the region. And once you have identified the sources, then you can formulate a comprehensive regional plan. So regional plan will be dependent upon the regional sources. Regarding the transboundary actions, increasing forestation. Now this forestation is especially required in the western regions of the country because there are naturally existing deserts over there. So this afforestation will act as barrier for transboundary dust. And there is United Nations Convention to Combat Desertification. The actions under this are similar. Hence, these should be integrated with those under National Clean Air Program. Transboundary level, there is a Malé Declaration on Control and Prevention of Air Pollution. This emphasizes the transboundary requirement of the air pollution control programs. So which sectors will be dealt with first in the National Clean Air Program? The dust sector through road cleaning and increasing the plant cover on the roads. Dust has to be removed. Power sector reforms for using cleaner energy. Industrial sector, stricter emission controls, etc. We will discuss these sectors in a little more detail in the following slides. Transport sector, agricultural emissions, waste management of the cities, and indoor air pollution management. So discussing the sectors one by one, dust management. And dust arising from construction and demolition activities in the city. Mechanical sweeping and watering of roads to be introduced. Improving construction and maintenance of roads so that road dust is minimized. Then growing plants and grass using the native grasses to prevent the resuspension of dust once it settles down within the grass cover. So construction and demolition waste management rules have been revised in 2016, which makes the local bodies to utilize 10 to 20% of the material from this waste in the contracts given to various contractors in municipal and government, in the municipal and government contracts. So reusing the waste that was produced during construction and demolition. Power sector emissions, what is to be done here? The ministry notified Environment Protection Amendment Rules in 2015 for thermal power plants. What was this? The thermal power plants shall be gradually replaced with the ones which use cleaner fuels to produce energy, like natural gas. Government of India started the world's largest renewable energy program and is known as National Solar Mission. What actions are envisaged for controlling the industrial emission? Introduction of gaseous fuels for the industries, and for those who are still using solid fuels, making and implementing more stringent standards for sulfur dioxide, various oxides of nitrogen, PM 2.5, etc. Full enforcement of zigzag technology. What is zigzag technology? When we making bricks in the brick kilns. The bricks are arranged in such a way that the hot air which moves very efficiently. So less energy is required in baking these bricks. Then control by innovative end of pipe control technologies, that is the filtration just prior to discharge of into the environment. So treating the effluent prior to the discharge into the environment. Elimination of digits by ensuring 24/7 electricity provision. And those digits who are still in use, new standards will be evolved for them. And then finally, adopt a third-party audit. Non-partial audits would be done for polluting industries in the states. That is, they will be non-partial. They will say yes for those who are not polluting, and they will ask for action against those who are polluting. Hence, a third-party audit. The reforms in transport sectors, introduction of Bharat stage norms, promotion of cleaner fuel for transport like CNG, ethanol, promoting public transport, National Mission on Sustainable Habitat under NEET-PG. It envisages sustainable cities wherein the urban planning is such that we promote convenient public transport so as to discourage the use of personal vehicles. Vehicles are required to carry pollution under control certificate, we all know that. Then voluntary vehicle fleet modernization program. Here tax benefit would be offered to those who are willing to junk old vehicles and replace with new ones with better emission standards. And moving towards e-mobility, the entire government fleet is to be converted to electric vehicles. Charging stations to be increased, especially in the 102 non-attainment cities. And research and development for indigenization of battery manufacturing and battery recycling, because these are major polluting things, batteries, and they will be required also for e-mobility. The steps planned under for agricultural emissions. The National Policy of Management of Crop Residues was formed in 2014 for interventions like parali chart, that is how to discourage burning of parali, how to process the parali into other fuels, pellets, things, use of bio-CNG, bioethanol as alternate fuel for brick kilns, for industries, for thermal power plants, for transport, etc. Then spreading steps, that is the crop residue burning was a major issue in Delhi NCR. But the steps taken for decreasing this parali burning is to be spread from Delhi NCR to other parts of the country as well. And in Delhi NCR, it was majorly paddy crop. Now spreading these steps for control of burning to sugarcane crops and other crops as well. Moving on to other crops also. And research and R&D to be done, how to manage the emissions occurring from the fertilizers and animal waste. So R&D would be required for this. So how will we control the emissions from waste management practices of cities? Open waste burning leads to 20 to 30% of air pollution in Delhi. So to decentralize the waste management in the city, it's a large city, then smaller waste management companies, especially in the 102 non-attainment cities. And segregating the waste into dry and wet waste from the source itself. The people who are generating the waste to segregate into dry and wet waste categories. Gila, sukha kachra, and should be made mandatory. Deployment of fixed compactor, that is when the waste is brought together at one place, it is to be compacted into a smaller mass and not just filled in dhalaus. These dhalaus are known as dump sites, where all the waste of the city is dumped. When the waste is dumped here, it emits landfill gas. These are also known as landfill sites. So landfill gas, which is mostly methane and carbon dioxide, both of which are greenhouse gases, and methane is in addition inflammable as well. So it causes fire, landfill slides, people get buried under it. So decentralized composting will do away with this central landfill areas. Biomethanation, that is using the methane that is emitted for energy purposes. Then research for converting the waste plastic into energy. Municipal solid waste is MSW. Stringent producer responsibility for e-waste and plastic waste. So those who are making, manufacturing e-waste and plastic substance should also have a policy in place into how to ultimately process these when these become waste. Strict implementation of the existing 6 waste management rules that we discussed in previous slides. These recycling or the material and urban waste. Recycling is one very good option. Smart City Mission is a government initiative to develop 100 sustainable cities in which the waste management would be taken care by the actions discussed above. And finally, indoor air pollution management. Indoor air pollutants can be from within the building or can be drawn in from outdoors. And these include the following. The health risks are higher because people tend to spend more time indoors in general. And indoors means within house, some institution, commercial buildings. So what National Air Clean Air Program action points in this case are building guidelines on how to monitor and how to manage indoor air pollution. Extending PM Ujjwala Yojana in 102 cities. This Yojana means increasing LPG use for household cooking and discouraging the solid fuel like wood and coal. Developing guidelines for building designs in such a way that healthy indoor quality is ensured. That is better ventilation, etc. And this is also be integrated with Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So these houses should be designed in a way so as to ensure healthy indoor quality. It is envisaged under the program that the action plans will be city specific because it will depend upon the precise source of pollution in that city or state. So action plans will be specific to the city. It will not be one size fits all. So there will be conducting source apportionment studies. That means studying what are the major sources for each city. So a city specific plan will take into account the specific sources for that city. And then creating city specific action plans based on above data. These actions would be taken up by the state administration and the city administration. Various important institutes are to be involved for this action. And this city-specific clean air action plan would be dynamic. It will evolve to new evolving scientific evidence. Similarly, state action plans would be with a study followed by state-specific action plan. The knowledge and database augmentation basically means knowing where is the pollution more, where is it less, what are the sources, what is the major component of air pollution. So an air quality monitoring network is the first crucial component of National Clean Air Program. Unless we do not know what are the pollutants and what are the sources, we can't take action. So what is envisaged is having 1500 manual monitoring stations from the previously existing 703. Increase the number of stations. Increase the number of CAAQMS stations for air quality monitoring, because this does real-time monitoring of air pollutions. And the number in each city would be decided upon what is the population of the study, how many industries are there, how many vehicles are there, etc. etc. Satellite-based monitoring to be used for particulate matter levels. Efforts to identify alternative technology for real-time monitoring. So newer technologies are required to be evolved with time. So institutes like IIT, CSIR, etc. should be involved for these new technologies. Rural monitoring network to be established. Till now, air quality in rural areas have been neglected, but it has been seen that rural areas also suffer from both outdoor and indoor air pollution. And the major sources in rural areas are indiscriminate use of insecticides and pesticides, burning of wheat and paddy straw, as we saw before. It has been seen that atmospheric ozone in rural areas, which is an indicator of pollution, is even higher than that in urban areas. So it is proposed to set up 75 monitoring stations in the rural areas, and setting of 10 city super network. This 10 city would be chosen so that they can signify the entire nation. So 10 cities will be identified and they will be specially monitored because they will monitor the overall air quality of the nation. They will reflect the nation. These super sites would be representative of cities and rural areas of the country. And these super sites will also study the background level of air pollution, the major. It is also envisaged to study what is the impact of air pollution on health of the residents and the economic impact on the economy of the nation. So these ministries have already constituted a working group for environment health, for studying the environment, because they say air pollution effects can be both direct and indirect. It primarily causes the direct effect in respiratory and other health hazards to those exposed to air pollution. And secondary or long term, when the people have health hazards, the productivity will obviously be adversely affected, and hence the overall economy of the country is affected to a great extent. So the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare is to take up environment health to generate health profile database. And is it improving with time and with their pollution control or not? So studies on health and economic impact of air pollution would be supported. There is a plan for monthly analysis of the data that is created under the program. Data on meteorological parameters, that is industry mapping, what is the AQI, PM 2.5, PM 10, and also data on health effects. That is, they will count the number of deaths due to heart attack, stroke, respiratory arrest, and other respiratory ailments, trends in lung cancer. These two data, meteorological parameters and data on diseases, to be analyzed every month to see how is it moving. Awareness workshop for the target audience, and media is to be used for wide dissemination of precise information. We discuss the major measures. Other measures will be listed here. International cooperation on the air pollution issue, joint research, interchange of academia, etc. Review of the standards and emission standards. These standards are already there. Some will be developed for those sources which are not available, and these standards will also be modified with time, like Bharat Standard 4, Bharat Standard 6. Similarly, standard for other emissions will also be reviewed periodically. National emission inventory, that is, we will know what are the major sources of pollution in different cities, different rural areas, and this inventory will be updated time to time. Actions for institutional strengthening, increasing public awareness and education on air pollution so that they are the major participants for reducing air pollution. City-specific awareness programs are required, and even the media needs to be sensitized for correct interpretation of the international reports and for disseminating the correct information on the measures being taken by the government, and also advising people on what they should do. So for all these actions, we need to have more human resource. So we would be undertaking training and capacity building, setting up air information center at the central level as well as the regional levels. So we can have information of what is the air quality in that area that we are interested in. Certification system for the monitoring instruments. So instruments which are used for air quality monitoring also need to be of certain standard so that correctly measured. So a system of certification is to be developed under this to create certification agencies for equipment needed for mitigation and monitoring of air quality. Then a system would be established for air quality forecasting system, which would be forecasting the next day's air quality. Till now we have the system called SAFAR, System of Air Quality and Weather Forecasting and Research. We need to improve upon these and make newer initiatives. These SAFAR initiatives will also be integrated with National Clean Air Program. The satellite data available through ISRO will also be integrated for this forecasting. The network of technical institutes and knowledge partners are definitely required if we have to undertake all the steps that we have discussed. So the institutional framework for carrying out this program At the central level is National Apex Committee, state level Apex Committee, then different groups as it listed here. At the state level, state level Apex Committee, city level, district level, as state level project monitoring unit. These are the strategies which is envisaged at various levels. You can stop the video if you want to study this deep. An evaluation was done in 2025, which showed the following grim picture. Air quality in the cities under the program, out of these 130, only 28 still do not have continuous air ambient quality monitoring stations. And those who do not have these stations, only 95 gather satisfactory data by other methods. Among these also, 29 recorded an increase in the PM10 concentration despite the program being in force since 2019. Only 41 cities achieved the reduction level of 20 to 30% as envisaged in 2019. So in 2024, 20 to 30% reduction was envisaged, which was possible only in 41 cities. And even in these cities, the PM10 concentration had decreased, but they were above the standards which are considered healthy. Air quality across India was found to be PM10 concentration. Only 253 cities had reliable data, and 206 out of these exceeded the standards. The most polluted city was Sri Ganganagar in Rajasthan, followed by Greater Noida in Delhi. Out of 76 cities in the Geographic Plain, 74 exceeded the standards. In 28 cities constituting the National Capital Regions, all cities exceed the standards. Air pollution exceed the standards, PM10. These were the states. All the monitored cities exceeded PM10 standards in these states. PM2.5 concentration. PM2.5 is dangerous, very dangerous. Out of 256 studies, 150 exceeded the standards, but 106 cities, they met the standards. Birnighat, Delhi and Gurgaon, they ranked at the top 3 most polluted cities in India as far as PM2.5 concentration is concerned. Out of the 78 cities in Indo-Gangetic Plain, 64 out of 78 exceeded the standards. In NCR, 27 out of 28 exceeded the standards for 2.5. State level analysis. In Punjab, all the 8 monitored cities exceeded PM2.5 standards, and these states, Haryana, Rajasthan, most of the cities, they exceeded the standards, PM2.5. So what about the monitoring network that was envisaged? India had 1524 monitoring stations, but only 966 manual. And the target was to have 1500 manual stations by 2024, which is largely unmet. And despite this some increase in the stations, the data quality is still a concern because the equipment is poorly maintained and does not follow the guidelines of Central Pollution Control Board. Study of various sources of pollution. Among the non-attainment cities, only 6 completed such studies. And out of 130, 50 total till date, from the start of the program, have completed the study. And out of these 50s, only 70s have published detailed reports. Others have not even uploaded the results. Regarding the awareness and capacity building, only 1400 public awareness programs were conducted in 5 years. Media, sensitization, etc. also faced challenges. Only 62 programs were implemented during this period. And in the current financial year, that is which ends in 25, the pace of these efforts are even further slowed. Regarding the Air Information Center, no progress till 2024. The only centralized air information system is Central Pollution Control Board's Prana portal. Regarding the certification scheme, the National Physics Laboratory was supposed to have the certification scheme. for the equipment used for air pollution monitoring. Even after 6 years, certified laboratories were established only in 43 cities out of 130 cities. Now, what about the forecasting systems? Despite plans for city-level forecasting systems, no progress was seen in 2024. Currently, the SAFAR forecast for next 24 hours air quality in only 4 cities as listed here: Delhi, Mumbai, Pune and Ahmedabad.